Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Danny Stroll.
Thank you. Thank you, Shabbat Shalom. The average school assignment can probably be completed in, about a day or two, maybe a week at most. But what you're about to see here today is no average school assignment. I should probably explain it for those of you that don't know, and also for those of you watching at home. Each one of us was asked to try to effect a change in the real world. This is no easy task, nor is there only one correct way to do it. Wyatt, whom you'll see a little bit later, decided to go national with his efforts, but he'll tell you more about that himself. I, on the other hand, decided to start with you, the individuals sitting in the audience right now. Because if we have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, to make a change, I need to talk to the people. So for my project, I decided to explore the idea of American exceptionalism and the document from which it stems, the United States Constitution. The Constitution provided its citizens rights and freedoms they'd never been granted before. And through my research, I found that the right to freedom of religion was especially interesting, if only because it doesn't seem like there should be conflict. Of course, we'll find out how that ends up not being true. While watching the film, you'll be reading a little bit of the Constitution for yourself, which, if you're like most Americans, will be for the first time. I hope you enjoy.
The state of New Hampshire was the ninth to be admitted to the Union in 1788. Their motto? Live free or die. This was exactly the sentiment felt by many of the constitutional founders and by many American citizens today. But in the capital city of Concord, just a short walk from the Capitol Dome, is the very epitome of our democracy, the intersection of Church and State Streets. The United States was fairly unique at its founding, for having a government not at all involved with an official state church. This is a monumental change that modern audiences do not always seem to appreciate. Think about it. In the 15th century, the monarchy of Spain became so intertwined with the Catholic Church that non-Catholics were ordered to convert or leave. The punishment for not doing so was death. The official policy of the Spanish Inquisition was not abolished until over 350 years later, in 1834. Even England, which had separated itself from Catholicism and the Vatican in 1534, had its monarchy connected with the official church and religion, the aptly named Church of England. King Henry VIII used his self-appointed position as the leader of the Church of England to grant himself power and rationalize his actions. The American founders wanted to avoid political corruption, such as in England, and religious intolerance, such as in Spain. So they wrote the Constitution to grant rights and freedoms unheard of at the time. But can you exercise your own freedom of religion without tearing down the wall that separates church and state? We're about to talk religion. Our investigation begins at the heart of this controversy, the United States Constitution itself, and more specifically, the First Amendment. In one sentence, the First Amendment famously allows for freedom of speech and expression, but also for religious freedom. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Article 6 of the Constitution reiterates this, as it says, "No religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States." So the government can't promote one religion over another. This seems simple enough. Where's the controversy? Well, the picturesque city of Colorado Springs, Colorado, with its population of around 500,000 people, has a lot going for it. Besides being very beautiful, it is known as the home of the Air Force Academy, as well as the home of over 640 churches. Yet even with the availability of churches in the area, $3.5 million tax dollars were spent to build a chapel for the Air Force cadets. Now meet Representative Vicky Hartzler of Missouri's 4th Congressional District. She is outraged, but not because of the extra money used to add to Colorado Springs' abundancy of churches. No, she's just fine with that. Instead, she's angered that the Air Force Academy then used $80,000 of taxpayer money to build a non-Christian worship center for its cadets of non-Christian faiths.
But do you see this as a part of a growing trend that we see that there is really kind of a marginalization of Christianity and almost a promotion of other forms of, I would have to say, fringe religions?
Oh, I agree. I think so. And Christianity is the main religion in our country. And as a policy for the Department of Defense, I mean, we need to defend the practice of religion, but we do not have to obligate taxpayer funds to facilitate it or accommodate it or pay for it.
Is it the government's role to try to put all religions on the same plane?
No, it's not their role at all. I mean, their role is to facilitate basic policy for our country and to not to try to lift up one religion or over the other. They should be defending the basic rights that we have, the freedom of religion here, and certainly not facilitating or accommodating fringe religions. I mean, it's crazy.
Did you catch that? She said that it's not the government's role to put all religions on the same plane. But it actually is. And the government has a very easy and constitutionally sound way of doing so, by staying the out of religion altogether. So if it's not the government's role to lift up one religion over another, why shouldn't the pagan worship center be built? Or better yet, why is any religious center being publicly funded at all, including the chapel? Which raises an interesting point. Why does the government seem to favor religions with these symbols over religions with these symbols? That was exactly the question asked by Bobby Henderson, founder of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. On August 9, 2005, the Kansas Board of Education ruled that science teachers must give evolution and alternate theories of origin equal time in the classroom. In an open letter, Henderson informed the school board of his belief in a supernatural creator that closely resembled spaghetti and meatballs. He went on to explain how, according to Pastafarianism, carbon dating results gathered by scientists are altered, quote, with his noodly appendage, and that the definitive cause of global warming is the decreasing number of sea pirates, as you can see in this graph here. He argued that his views were just as valid as creationism, so he threatened legal action if Pastafarianism wasn't added as a possible theory of origin, while creationism was. Pastafarians are really rare in the world, so I felt lucky to not only have found one, but to have found one that's willing to be interviewed.
I just want people to understand that all I'm doing is standing up for my religious freedom, just like everyone else.
And you think that people don't understand that?
No, I don't. And here's why. Because many people think Pastafarianism is a joke, even a mockery. And just because my religious beliefs contradict those of others, why does that make mine wrong?
And can you tell us why you brought a pasta strainer today?
Certainly. Many religions have traditional headwear. Jews wear kippas, Sikhs wear turbans, Mormons have the hair, and Pastafarians wear a colander. And finally, we're winning the right to do that, just like everyone else.
The right he's talking about? First, you need a little background. Although state laws vary slightly, there is a general rule that the only kind of headwear anyone is allowed to have in their legal identification picture is religious. Followers of traditional religions have usually had no problems. Pastafarians have. In late August 2013, Eddie Castillo, a Texas Tech student and Pastafarian, was able to convince the Department of Public Safety workers in Lubbock to let him express his religion. They let him wear his colander in his ID photo. Castillo is the first American to successfully have his government-issued photo identification taken while wearing a colander. Pastafarians in Europe have had more success in their efforts to pay homage to the Flying Spaghetti Monster in official documents. In the same month, a Czech man by the name of Lucas Novi was given an ID featuring him wearing a colander. Officials ruled that turning down his request would violate the nation's religious equality laws. Here's the thing. Religious headwear only affects the person who chooses to wear it and no one else. But there are cases of people practicing their religion while affecting others' lives and infringing on their rights. That brings us to the Westboro Baptist Church. Founded in the mid-1950s and headquartered in Topeka, Kansas, the Westboro Baptist Church is led by Fred Phelps and is attended by mostly members of his family. They've been described as a hate group, and the Anti-Defamation League, as well as the Southern Poverty Law Center, monitor them as such. They routinely stage picket and protest events to the tune of around 6 per day, and by the church's own count, they have protested events in all 50 states. Their protests of homosexuality and military funerals are among the most infamous. On March 3, 2006, Marine Lance Corporal Matthew A. Snyder was killed on duty in Iraq. On March 10th, members of the Westboro Baptist Church picketed his funeral as they had done for thousands of military funerals in protest of what they considered America's increasing tolerance of homosexuality. Keep in mind that even Westboro's leader, Fred Phelps, did not assert that Snyder was gay, instead saying that his preaching was still fitting due to, as he put it, quote, "The whole country is given over to sodomy and sodomite enablers." The Snyder family sued the church over its actions. The defendants used almost all parts of the First Amendment in their defense, arguing that under the First Amendment, they had the right to speak their minds, the right to express their religion, and the right to peacefully assemble. In an 8-1 decision in favor of Phelps and the Westboro Baptist Church, the court held that speech in a public area about a public issue is still protected, even if the speech is found to be outrageous. And really, isn't that what makes America unique? You have the right to speak your mind no matter what that entails. You have the right to express your religion however you see fit. And moreover, you don't have to fear that following that religion might hinder you from following your dreams. One recent presidential candidate said it best.
Almost 50 years ago, another candidate from Massachusetts explained that he was an American running for president, not a Catholic running for president. Like him, I am an American running for president. I do not define my candidacy by my religion. A person should not be elected because of his faith, nor should he be rejected because of his faith.
Historical footnote is right. Although our religious protections are no longer unique, we were the first to guarantee those rights. The U.S. Constitution set a standard for the world, and numerous constitutions written after the 18th century are undeniably modeled after ours. Does the system work perfectly? No. But with over 1,500 religions free to practice in one of the nation's 360,000 religious centers, it's hard to deny that the system is well designed.
Sun is shining, come on, get happy. The Lord is waiting to take your hand. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. We're going to the promised land.
So at this point, I'd like to open it up to the audience for any questions or comments they might have. Kyle?
Would you say that the people in the interview that you had earlier,
The radio interview?
have a point?
Okay, so the question was, do the people that were in the radio interview, the representative, and have a point? And I would say, well, of course they have a point, because that Christianity is being marginalized. Because I personally dream of a day that Christians could openly practice their religion in public and show the symbol of their religion out in the open, maybe around their necks. Or that one day we might just have an openly Christian president, or 44 of them, consecutively. So no, they are unfounded. Anyone else?
What's your position on that issue?
Okay, so the question was, how do I feel about protection of speech, whether or not it may be outrageous? I agree that our speech is protected. They do have the right to say what they want, and they have the right to have their opinions about the soldier or whatever it may be. What they can't do is go and protest his funeral. That is a time for grieving, for families, and it shouldn't have been on TV, and it only was because they were protesting. So they can say what they want. They can have a website. They can do what they want, but not invading people's personal lives that way. So at this point, we will have a short intermission, and then we will welcome my friend and fellow compatriot Wyatt Kaufman for his presentation.